You did everything right and you still fell off. So now what? Hi, I'm Eileen. I'm a first-gen Latina that grew up in a chaotic low-income household and still achieved my dream reality, all by creating stability through the 5 core systems that I have walked you through. We talked about the stability loop and the idea that this loop is what determines whether you fail or you succeed at your goals. And at this point in the series, you should have already built the 5 core identity stability systems that will help fix the loop so that you can achieve all of your goals. You defined who you are, you built emotional stability, you've gained financial control, you've also aligned your environment, and you've also created a system for execution. So really, in theory, this should fix the loop and you should just show up naturally, right? This should be a seamless execution at this point moving forward. So yes, while that is true, unforeseen life circumstances can still come up. That's just the reality of life. Sometimes there may be a medical emergency, family emergency, heartbreak, depressive episodes. Life just gets in the way sometimes. Even with the right systems in place, you may still have some unforeseen life circumstances that get in the way at some point. But that doesn't mean that your system failed, because the intention behind creating these systems is to reduce friction. It's not about being perfect. When you've done identity design properly, you have a clear vision of who your ideal version is. So this is the ideal version that you are working towards. And even in instances where you didn't anticipate you'd fall off, you still have something to come back to. You have your foundation to ground you so that even if you get pulled away temporarily, you don't end up losing yourself. You don't end up losing that newly claimed identity. So let's say you've built out all 5 systems and you were able to show up for a week, maybe even 2 weeks. But then at some point life got in the way, maybe work overtook an entire day of your life, or something just came up where you weren't able to show up at 100%. Maybe that means you missed a day of training, you missed a day of cleaning, maybe you didn't apply to as many jobs in one day as you would have liked and as you have planned to. And so you begin to wonder what happened. Wasn't this all supposed to go perfectly, and wasn't it just supposed to be a seamless execution? And that's true, it should be, but only over time. You're still in the beginning phases. So in the very beginning, you're still building that identity. So when work gets in the way, when you get tired, when you get exhausted, these kind of things might still impact you and the way that you show up in the very beginning. You're going to feel that resistance. The goal here, though, is to remember that it's not about perfection. It's about doing something, at least one thing in the day, that will allow you to be in alignment with that ideal version, even if that one thing you do isn't at 100%. Alignment is not necessarily doing everything, but essentially just doing something that reminds you and reinforces who you said you are becoming. And on low days, that might just look like journaling about your ideal self, visualization. Visualization is a very powerful tool that I use on a daily basis. So maybe you just visualize that ideal version of yourself. Maybe it's even just reading a reminder of who you said you are becoming. Maybe it's even planning how you're going to bounce back tomorrow. But really, it's about just staying connected to your vision, even when these unforeseen circumstances get in the way, so that you don't drift away from who you are becoming. The effort doesn't have to feel intense. It doesn't need to feel like hard work. It just needs to be aligned. At the very core of how you show up and your actions, it really comes down to your thoughts influencing your feelings, which influence your actions. So when you stay close to your vision, even if that's just in your head and in your thoughts, that prevents you from drifting too far away from that ideal version. Naturally, you'll find your way back to that behavior that is in alignment with that ideal version. And this is really where your systems support you. Identity design is what reminds you of the ideal version that you are working towards. Emotional stability helps you regulate your emotions when your feelings get in the way. Financial security gives you a sense of control in a chaotic environment. Environmental alignment reinforces your behaviors, and your execution system gives you structure. While they are necessary to create stability in your life, and they really serve to prevent any potential friction from coming up, they can't remove unforeseen circumstances that you didn't anticipate from coming up. They don't remove those life things from happening. For example, for me, I'm training for a fitness competition and I'm 5 months out. So what that means for me in my daily routine is I'm training on a daily basis. I'm meal prepping a week out in advance, and I'm doing this while also balancing all of the goals that I'm working on, life, work, and it's not always perfect. Life can get in the way, especially when it comes to my 9-to-5 tech career, and sometimes my days at work just get a little bit longer. But I don't lose sight of who I am, and so that is what always brings me back to showing up as that ideal version. And it's really not about toxic self-development. I'm not going to tell you to ignore your emotions or just push through even when you are physically and mentally drained. That really doesn't work for everyone, and it's also unhealthy and unsustainable. And sometimes the most aligned thing that you can do is to rest, especially if you're struggling mentally. You need to take care of yourself first, because you really can't execute on your identity if you're not taking care of yourself. You especially can't do that if your health is at risk. What really matters here is that you have a bounce back framework. So what this is your ability to come back, your ability to not let one moment turn into an entire full reset again, and your ability to reconnect with your identity again and again. Consistency is not built on perfection. It's built on returning back to who you said you are as many times as it takes, over and over again until it sticks. If you made it this far in the series, this is really where it becomes real. Not when it's easy, but rather when it becomes hard to execute. When life happens and you choose to come back anyway. In the next video, I'll walk through how you can rebuild momentum even after moments where life happens and you fell off, and I'll provide practical strategies to reconnect with your systems fast. If you like this video, definitely like and subscribe to the channel, and I can't wait to keep building with you.